Hello and welcome to the Plant Paradigm Podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with amazing people from all around the world and look for ways to create a clean, green, and sustainable future for us, the planet, and all beings. I'm your host, Tom Simak, a fellow plant eater who strives to optimize every living ecosystem, passionate about looking after this beautiful floating rock we call home and all the lovely creatures that dwell among it. I'm really excited to share this amazing conversation with Alex Glover. Alex is a fellow half-bearded soul, activist, social media influencer, health and wellness advocate, and sports a degree in law and business. We're going to be diving deep into so many different topics, including his vegan story, sustainability, conscious awareness, and the pillars of health and how to tackle each one. I hope you get some value out of this episode. I definitely did. But without further ado, here's Alex and I. Mr. Alex, welcome to the show. How are you going?
I'm going well, man. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's afternoon now. What's been happening in your morning?
Mate, today has been a beautiful day. I woke up and my new ritual, okay, I'll just run you through my new ritual.
Please.
Actually, it's not a ritual. I don't really believe in rituals per se. I believe in, like I say to a lot of people, being like a bottle of water and allowing myself to be the water in any kind of vessel, as Bruce Lee says.
Yes.
I really do believe that. Like, people say, oh, are you this, are you that? And I say, well, I'm not really a label. I'm kind of just being, and I be in whatever scenario I'm put in. So I could one day be in the gym, and therefore I'm someone who's weightlifting. I could have a dinner with my grandma, therefore I'm just being a grandson. Like, I don't really like to put my labels on things. But yeah, my morning was good. I woke up and had my iron tea. I've been working on a few herbal concoctions to kind of battle the pharmaceutical industry and bring light to people's lives through the beautiful nature that we have. Then I stretched. I did a little bit of work. I had to figure out a few things for my university graduation. And then I went to the gym, and I will admit, I thought it was 12 o'clock on my phone, but I have two phones at the moment. Don't ask me why.
The second one's a burner phone, isn't it? You don't have to lie.
Well, yeah, it's to deal my herbal tinctures, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm a drug dealer in some kind of sense. And I thought it was an hour earlier anyway. So then I'm here now. And yeah, my day's been quite slowly. What about yours?
Dude, it's been pretty good. I had a few other interviews this morning, but really
Nice.
feeling good. You're in Sydney, yeah?
I'm in Kiama, so 2 hours south, so the south coast of Australia,
Oh.
of New South Wales.
Of New South Wales, beautiful. Well, yeah, we're not really having a great time in Melbourne.
No, I know,
when you said, like, I went to the gym, I'm like, oh man, I cannot relate right now. We cannot go anywhere. But that's all good. I'm doing my morning ritual, my meditation, my stretching.
Yes.
My breathing.
To battle those communist Melbourne kind of facets that are creeping in.
Yes,
Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that, but
well, I mean, it's just to have a good time, just to test new things. And, it took like 24 years of my life to get used to meditation. It's such a hard habit to get. And I have a to-do list every day, and it's on there, and I'm still like, oh, it's hard. And it's hard to find the good app that you relate to. And are you meditating at the moment?
I am, yeah. So I kind of put it into a different kind of approach. So I don't necessarily assimilate to an app or someone that guides me or a certain type of music. My meditation kind of comes in different forms of different waves and whenever it calls me. So I don't necessarily set it out in the morning. Don't get me wrong. I do think that it is good to get in a practice of that when you're weaning yourself onto it. I just found it, I guess, a little bit more refreshing for me, or a little bit more bioavailable to do it whenever I deemed necessary, still daily. But I'm more focused on different notions of it now. So whether it be deep belly breathing or kind of breathing in a stretch. So mixing up the forms of meditation, I think, is really, really important. And again, not necessarily putting a label on it for me. Like, I'm not saying I'm meditating right now. I have to perfect this. I have to master this, because at the end of the day, man, it is hard. Like, I struggle. I get to about, I'm going to say 9 seconds, and that's my max ever before
Yeah.
a thought creeps in.
Yeah.
Like I've struggled more than anything, and I get people asking me all the time, "Oh, you must be really good at it." No, hell no. I just do it. And so that's cool that you said you're making yourself get up and do it. And even though you dread it, man, like you're still getting up and doing it. And that's commendable in itself, right?
Yeah, well, you know, you hear these people, and I don't get it, but you hear these people that, you know, like they do these psychedelic drugs and they're like, man, you can do this drug or you can meditate and you get the same feeling. And I'm like, this compound that you take literally alters the state of your brain. And you're telling me you can get that via meditation? Like that
Mm,
blows my freaking mind. Like how people meditate hours on end. And I get like
mm.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like the max I've ever done it. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like it seems so far.
Yeah, man. So oh, I mean, I've watched people do that, and I've seen people deconstruct their, I guess, mantra behind their deep meditations and how it can be a psychedelic kind of experience. And I see that to some extent in my own practice and my own experience. Like if you look up Wim Hof breathing, obviously most people know Wim Hof breathing, but have you heard of him?
I do cold showers, ice baths,
Yeah,
breathing. Man, I'm on it.
awesome. Okay, so I mean, you can kind of get a sense of the psychedelic experience in terms of the tingling sensations in your body, uh, the extent that your brain has the power to overcome the feelings of cold and whatever it may be. But in terms of being able to mimic something like psilocybin or mescaline or LSD, whatever it may be, I find that too very, I guess, difficult to comprehend
Yeah.
because they're saying that you can alter your reality, flop into another dimension purely through breath work and meditation. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's happened before. I mean, if there's literature on it, that has to have happened to some extent.
Is there literature on
Um,
it?
yeah. There's a lot of traditional literature. You look in ancient Egyptian texts, which a lot of them have been buried by I mean, I'm not going to say the organizations because I don't want to get your head bitten off, but there's a lot of organizations out there that bury this kind of data, bury this kind of literature. I mean, you look at the, just for example, the therapeutic and medicinal effects of cannabis and psilocybin, just for one, at curing alcohol addiction, killing cigarette addiction, getting people out of depression, OCD, severe schizophrenia. I mean, yes, it has induced people into those conditions as well. However, that is abuse. It's not taken medicinally. I think that these plants are purely here for a medicinal purpose, not a recreational purpose. But yeah, getting sidetracked. I think it is whack that people can get into that state of consciousness purely through meditation, and that's the end goal, really, man.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, bouncing on the back of that, what is something, and I know like given the current COVID situation and all this, what's something that you're really excited about these days or really happy about?
Oh man, what am I really excited about? What am I really happy about? I'm really happy that each individual has started to appreciate the ambiguity of life and appreciate the fact that you don't need to have a prescription timeline to live your life. I think it's really awesome to see people actually moving away from the idea that you need to have a set structure, and you need to have rigidity in your life to thrive, because that's simply not the case. But that's what we get taught from a very early young age, and we get indoctrinated into this way of thinking that we need to have everything kind of mapped out. But this ambiguity has, I think, allowed people to find their sense of individuality, and not only that, but it's allowed them to more or less critically think about things that are really important to critically think about, which in the past has been very much neglected. Very simple things as well, like even veganism. It's allowed people to even just question the fact why they're eating that piece of meat on their plate. So yeah, that's something that I've been really excited about. Again, that sounds like a weird thing to be excited about, but I'm all about building collective consciousness, not about individualism and individualistic consciousness, because I think it's great to achieve and understand that you have consciousness and you need to look after it and you need to heal yourself for the well-being of your own life. But I think it's even greater when you get to that next step and realize it's not unless we're all on a similar consciousness that true change actually happens. So that for me is the exciting thing from COVID.
For sure. I think That's a really nice answer. And it kind of ties back to, well, we know that, when you become, or if you become super wealthy, it's like, that doesn't cure your sadness. Like you need friends and family. It's like, and that concept of team is super, super important. But I think I jumped the gun a little bit. I want to give people a rundown on who is Alex Glover. Can you give us a run? Because I know like you're all over the place. You've got this history in law and you've got, all your influencer stuff. Can you give, who is Mr. Glover?
Yeah, all right. So me, I mean, I gave you a brief rundown on me just being a being. That is me. But when you want to go a little bit further, yeah. So I'm Alex Glover. What do I do? So that I get asked a lot. I've been studying for the past 7 years, a Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Business degree. I literally have just finished both, which is great.
Woo.
I didn't, yeah, woo, but I didn't really want to finish it per se. I never went into that degree wanting a degree in law or wanting a degree in business. I purely did it as a sense of having credibility against my name. And the deeper I got into my degree and the deeper I got into my vegan lifestyle and my way of living as being a conscious being, I really got to see its benefits and its merits of just having that title against my name in terms of being able to say something and people going, okay, he has a learned background, he must know what he's talking about. And it doesn't change me. That degree has not changed me in one iota. I'm still the exact same human. I'm no smarter, I'm no dumber. Oh, maybe I'm dumb because I've just learned in a vacuum. I don't know. But it has allowed me to kind of explore different avenues and really voice something, and someone actually will take note of it purely because of that law background. So yeah, that's my education side. I do want to go now into a postgrad of medicine or some kind of herbal medicine, whether that's traditional Chinese medicine, whether that's naturopathy, whatever it may be. I really want to go down that avenue because I want to break the chasm that exists between traditional and Western medicine. I believe that there is a strong chasm that exists, and I believe it can be broken down to really enable human flourishment. The flourishing of humans. I don't know if flourishment's a word. I often embellish these words and I go, was that a word? But yeah, so that's what I want to do in the future. Now, onto my vegan side of things, I guess. So vegan for me, I always say there's like without using the Illuminati symbol, the myriad of reasons for going vegan, whether that's for the planet, whether that's for the animals or for your own health. For me, it was always about the animals and the environment. And then my health came second. I always knew it was healthier for you, which maybe played some subconscious role. But in order to convey the vegan message, I've found in today's society, it's very, very important, almost pinnacle, to explain the health benefits, especially if it's to a man or someone who identifies as a man. So that's my vegan kind of history, I guess. And where do I come from? I come from like a background of like sport playing. So I always played sport growing up, surfed a lot as a kid. For me, surfing was my form of meditation until I realized that that's an inappropriate use of the word meditation. It was more or less my Zen space. I don't believe you can meditate while doing an activity or a sport. Some people say they can meditate while driving. I think that that's a misappropriation of the word. But yeah, so surfing for me was always a very big thing because I'm someone that's centered around mental health as well. And without getting a little bit too far down the rabbit hole, veganism ties in really beautifully with mental health. I believe that when you start realizing the benefits of being vegan, in terms of just being a compassionate human and caring for not only just yourself, but for the world around you and for other individuals, you really start, I guess, like an onion, like ogres have layers. You tend to peel back your own layers. And you really start digging deep into your own psyche and your own reason for why you've maybe had an action or an inaction. And so for me, that's really, I guess, founded my concrete set of beliefs in being a rounded human being and not just focusing on one kind of ailment or issue like our Western medical approach does. So yeah, moving back onto the sports side of things. So surfing, always my Zen spot, but then I got really into kind of endurance sport. endurance training, training at the gym. People always would comment, I don't train for aesthetics or anything like that. I don't train for the look of my body. I train purely to appreciate the capacity that my body has. But uh, people have often commented, because I was a part-time model, and I still do to an extent, if the brand kind of aligns with my values. I was doing runways and stuff when I was a bit younger, early 20s. People would always comment on my body, for example, and say, well, how could you attain that? And I wanted to really push the boundaries and show, look, like you can, obviously everyone knows that now with the likes of Game Changers coming out, but you can see it now. But I really wanted to show people that you didn't have to sacrifice anything to actually become a vegan. In fact, I think it actually bettered my body in terms of physical performance and aesthetic capabilities, if you're looking at that perspective. So yeah, I guess me in a whole is just a walking embodiment of trying to promote veganism, not push it down anyone's throat, but more or less just planting seeds along my journey of life and waiting for those seeds to really pop into that person's brain or to start growing. So I guess, yeah, that's a really brief rundown on me. I know that might have seemed not brief at all, but that's me in a nutshell. And yeah, I really like to tie those three things into my life, which is the environment, veganism, and mental health. I think they're all the most important things in our life, really. So yeah.
For sure. Oh, there's so many things I was trying to remember while you're talking, because the first thing I thought of, like, as soon as you're like, oh, look, the law degree is good, but like, uh, that's so frustrating because,
Mm,
I'm like, us or a lot of people listening might not have a qualification at all. Like nothing,
mm,
just went to high school and then we're good. We're just doing our thing. But if we
mm,
quote the exact same study, but one's a doctor or a scientist, the other one's just a normal human, it's like there's so much credibility behind the scientists. And that's so, I think, culturally frustrating because it's the same knowledge. Although I also think of it twofold. Like now, a lot of people, what's so funny, it's backwards. People don't trust the experts and they're
mm,
trusting, the bloggers and the Facebookers. And
mm.
I find it's going to be a really interesting like almost like a cultural
Shift.
shift
Mm,
where
mm,
like the platform for the normal people is going to rise close to the level of the authority that scientists have. It's like 100,000 followers is going to be a higher position than a bachelor or a medical doctor, which I think will be really, really funny. So have you thought about like how that might change? Like you've got the law degree and you've got like your following. Like, do you find that you've got more authority one over the other?
Look, I think that's a really interesting question. I don't necessarily believe in, I mean, I really believe in doing your own research, and I believe that everyone is their own doctor, everyone is their own scientist, and everyone is their own great healer. Okay, they're my beliefs, and that's my opinion. I'm not right, I'm not wrong, but I don't ever think anyone's right, and I don't think anyone's wrong. I think someone just has an opinion that's founded upon something, but that opinion and inevitably allows for the growth of humanity because it shifts people's ideas. But for me, it really comes down to testing things purely on yourself, and that's all you can do, and doing your own research. So I'm a believer in, I don't think that I'm any smarter than someone without a degree. No way. I think that is arrogant and egotistical to believe anything like that just because I have a degree in something or 2 degrees. Like, it does not make any difference in my opinion. I also think that there are so many doctors out there which are on their deathbed, they're walking deathbeds, and they look terrible, they feel terrible. Why would you? It's kind of like when people say, "Oh, why would I want to get advice from a personal trainer who doesn't look like a personal trainer?" Well, why
Mm.
would you want to get advice about your health from someone that isn't a living embodiment of health? And I'm not talking about your Western definition of health, which is just being alive. I'm talking about being a flourishing version of yourself, which you can only get through traditional um, uh, like viewpoints of health. So coming back to it, if the person that I'm looking at on Instagram, in my opinion, is deemed credible through my own research upon that individual, I'll, yes, take their advice on face value far more readily than a person of a profession who I, on my research, looks and doesn't portray what they say they are.
For sure. And it goes back to how much trust we lost in the experts when in the 50s and 60s, the biggest things these doctors were arguing about is that, do you smoke Luckies or do you smoke Camels? It's like there was so much. I think that was where the trust really got broken. And I think it's really
Mm,
important to trust the medical community because I think, when you find someone who's committed to their field, and
mm,
who loves what they do and
mm,
really looks into the research in a
mm.
non-biased way, I think that's really commendable because although I agree in a certain way, like the bachelor doesn't mean you're any smarter or not, but you're trained in a way that lets you look into the data quickly.
For sure. I believe that there are outliers, and I said that on a discussion I had with a friend the other day. And don't think that I'm saying that I don't trust doctors in general. I think that there are amazing doctors out there. I just think that there are a select few giving them a bad name, and whether they're in
For
it just for
sure.
the politics or the money or whatever it may be. But there are some that really embody the lifelong learning, and I think whatever field you're in, you need to be a lifelong learner. When you're talking to a fighter or a basketball player or a surfer or a tennis player or whatever sports a man or a woman is playing, they will do everything in their power that they can to get the upper hand, and they will always be researching new techniques, always be trying something new. Otherwise they fall off the top. And I believe that any profession should take that exact same approach. Like in law, we are always taught, stay up to date with the law. You have to be a lifelong learner. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. People get into this idea, oh, okay, well, I'm just in this for the money. This is my business, whatever. And it's come to a point where being a doctor is a business nowadays. A lot of practices would be out of funds and out of resources, and doctors would not be being paid if they weren't pushing some medicines which have been provided to them by big pharma, who have taken them on a big holiday and a nice big convention and said, sell these products, we'll take you on this holiday, we'll fund your practice for the next 5 years or whatever. And it is really sad to have seen their influence take over what medicine set out to be. And there are some doctors and there are some nurses and there are some health professionals. Actually, there's a lot of them. Um, but unfortunately, their names tend to get buried and their voices tend to get overshadowed by mainstream media or big pharma doctors or whatever it may be. And you really have to do your own research to find those doctors who are really in it for the passionate side of health.
It's so strange how there's so many facets in what can go right or wrong, especially in like the medical field where you have like I wouldn't know as like a citizen, how can I help this doctor have a living if it's like the whole thing with chiropractors. People don't like chiropractors because they think they're paid to bring you back because they make more money. If you're healed, you
Mm,
can't come back. It's like that
mm,
whole framework. It's like, how can you support them, but knowing that your ailment or your disease or whatever it may be is giving them funding? And it kind of calls for this whole thought, like, is a change to the whole monetary system of how medicine works, is that necessary? And it's like there's so much philosophical gratitude to what needs to happen or wants to. I have no idea. Have you thought about, should there be a change systematically to how this works?
Oh, I think change will come very slowly, but it will come, and I think there will be a shift, especially from this whole COVID pan or pandemic, whichever way you look at it. But I think there will be a big.
Yeah.
I think there will be a big shift, and I don't know how it will come, but I also think that it needs to come through education and awareness and information that is readily available. And there is readily available information at the moment. It's just it takes time for those people to take those blinkers off and actually open their eyes and remove their ignorance. Because there's a lot of people that I've shown these things to, and they go, "No, no, no, I don't want to see that because I'd be deterred from eating meat in the future." And I
Right.
go, "Well, if that's causing you to have some kind of reaction like that, well, then therefore you have to really go back and reevaluate your morals and your ethics." And I think the same thing will play into action with something like the medical industry. But I also think it comes back to the individual. So chiropractors, you mentioned, chiropractors or physios or whatever you want to look at. Yes, there would be some in it purely for money making reasons, and like anything, there's always going to be someone trying to steal your money, and that's
Mm.
inevitable. That's going to happen. That's just the society we live in. So, but when you're looking at chiropractors in general, I think that comes back to holistic health and really looking after every facet of your body. So you can't just look after your diet. You need to look after your flexibility, your alignment of your spine, your what you're thinking, what kind of water you're drinking. It really comes back to everything. So, yes, a chiropractor, if you have an injury, can fix you. But I also think being educated about why you go to a chiropractor and why you might go to regular appointments, and why, instead of calling it treating yourself to a massage, why that's actually important as well, to allow your lymphatic system to, I guess, be drained, to have your muscles released, but also to just allow stress and tension points released as well. So it really boils down to individuals realizing that they need to invest in their health.
For sure. And holistically is definitely like a key. Like some people, well, we have a life and we're learning how to adult. Hopefully, most people who listen, I'm guessing, are mostly adults. And you have to learn how to pay the bills, and you learn how to look after your body, and then you have to eat right and exercise right. And there's so much misinformation. Then you have to siphon through all of that. And it's such a, it can almost be draining to look into these things. And that's why, I mean, in a roundabout way, I think we should have a system where we I guess screen out or trust like these experts, because I think there's just too much like that needs to go inside of,
Noise, yeah.
yeah, too much noise. And having experts, I think, is a phenomenal way to get someone to at least be in charge of this part. Like, just like your brain, like, hey, frontal lobe, like I'm the hypothalamus. I've got things to do. I've got enzymes to create. Can you just sort out the other things up there? And they work as a team. And it's like when something needs to get done auditory, they'll go to whatever part of their brain that does that. And I think using that as a model would be really cool in a way, if we could trust the experts, but if they could, oh, it'd be really good. But that's so hard. And it's such a stuck in the middle situation.
On that topic, take two, we're on a different screen. Yeah, I think it does come down to having the right people in charge, being those experts. I think there are too many people in charge without the health of the world at their forefront.
Donald Trump. Oh, well, that's weird.
But you can look at people such as the Rockefeller family back in the day, man. They prescribe, right? They prescribed what doctors were learning. They own the pharmaceutical world, right? And then they prescribed through that model what doctors learned. Like it's basic 101, going and looking at how the history of things have actually come to fruition to actually enable us to understand what perspective they're infiltrating our brains at. And it is pushing an agenda, and there is always an agenda behind anything, whether that agenda is pure and innocent and for the betterment of society, or whether that agenda is with malice in mind. And I think that is, malice has attacked a lot of these industries that we take resources from. And I think that it needs to have a shift in that respect to enable the whole industry to be seen as something different, and to allow individuals to have proper education about said things. Because you can look at hemp, for example. Hemp is the most versatile plant in the world. You can make hemp bricks and it will not burn in a forest fire, okay? Your house will never burn down if it were made from hemp. Why was hemp?
You wouldn't think so, hey? Because hemp.
Well, yeah, it's a plant, but it can be compact enough that it won't burn. There are a copious amount of videos on YouTube where people hold flamethrowers to hemp blocks and it does not burn. It does not incinerate. And there was I can't remember the exact date, so don't shoot me down, anyone. But there were legislations put in place to ban hemp through the timber industries and through the people who owned the brick industries. And they were a lot of these elites, all right? So they got rid of these resources, which wouldn't have only saved a lot of deforestation and logging, but it would have saved copious amounts of lives, lots of economic downfall through governments and forest fires burning through areas, and not to mention the individuals as well. So it really comes back and to what we were saying previously. There needs to be a 360 happening, and it needs to be those minorities which become the majority. I always put a nice little spin on things, and I like to never find myself in a majority, because chances are they're just following someone that's prescribing something wrong. In our day and age, So I like to be the minority within the majority because it is usually, for me anyway, in my opinion, a safer space because it allows for myself to do research and kind of push these boundaries. But yeah, that's my take on all that.
That is such a shame with the hemp thing. I didn't know it could be compact. I'm just thinking the 2020 fires burnt down over 2,600 buildings and hundreds of people died. Oh my gosh, it's such a shame. I want to look into that because that is freaking insanity. But, I think everyone deep down knows that somewhere along the lines there is an agenda, regardless of how big or little you think that is. Like, it could be anything. And like you said, agendas can be good as well. And everyone has an agenda. I have an agenda for the things I want to do. I hope in my values that is positive. Some people, it might not be, especially if their values are power and fame and money and these things that they think will give them prosperity, which, unfortunately will not. And I wish they could find that out earlier, like, rather than later.
Yeah, 100%. Which, if you do want to get into that fame and whatever, you have to sell your soul and become a child molester. Let's be real. If you want to enter Hollywood, but let's not get into that. Yeah. But yeah, it is a big shame.
Now I want to change gears because I could talk way too long, but I wanted to actually address the elephant in the room. We both have half a beard. So I can't go out without a mask at the moment. You can. What has firstly, for those who don't know, the half beard, half cut, we did have an episode with Jimmy, episode 63, I believe it was. So you can go back and listen to that one. But can you explain why you have a half beard again and what the reactions have been like in public?
Yeah, so essentially Jimmy reached out a message to me with Dara, who is Tiger Lily, and just mentioned it to me in passing about the half cut. And I honestly didn't know about the organization, but I did know about Jimmy for a few years. And I did know why he always went half cut. Anyway, for me, it was a no-brainer because for me, it is about sharing awareness. But not only that, but the largest reason for deforestation in our world and our rainforests is animal agriculture. So when I got this, as I saw it as an opportunity to enable people to see more of what really happens, I took the stance. And for me, it is pure symbolism. Our world is run on symbolism. And I think this is purely a nice symbolic gesture to show that we have cut down over half our world's forests. That is the reason behind Half Cut Movement, obviously. Well, for those that are listening that don't know, that is the reason. And for me, it's more about taking a political stance and removing my individual self from the equation. For people that are very, I guess, pent up on their looks or want to uphold some kind of social sense of validation through whatever they're doing, it's usually looks-based. And through actually altering something on your face, whether it's temporary, permanent, whatever it is a pretty bold move. I don't deem it as bold for myself because it is a no-brainer for me. It's not like it was a big leap, but it really shows that you're taking your ego out of your way of life and really dedicating yourself to something, that being half cut for the environment to save the Daintree. But yeah, for me, it comes to animal agriculture. And a lot of people will ask me whether that be in a supermarket, whether that be in a gym setting, even out for dinner, anywhere really, out walking my girlfriend's dog, whatever it is, like people will go, what is going on? Or they'll just give me a weird look. I had a girl in the gym the other day, like zoom in and I could tell she was zooming on Instagram on my face. And it's cool. People will ask me and I would go, well, did you know that half of our world's rainforests or our forests are chopped down? And not only that, the leading cause of this is due to animal agriculture. So for me, it's been a really beneficial thing to do. The first time around, my beard was a lot stronger. Obviously, I mentioned that I cut it off for personal reasons. But yeah, it is. I think it's a really beautiful gesture and a really beautiful symbolic kind of way of expressing yourself because it is a really raw form of education. Firstly, they go, what the hell is that person doing? Is he crazy? And then the second step is you actually approaching them. If they're looking at you and you go, hey, do you know what? This is why I'm doing it. And they go, wow, really? And no one knows that. Really, no one knows the reason behind deforestation. Everyone just thinks it's for paper. I mean, no, the production of paper barely makes a dent in the deforestation world. It's more the consumer discretionaries and development for housing or infrastructure or whatever. And then the big one is animal agriculture. And so it really allows me to like tie in my belief. And that's the beautiful thing about Half Cut. It really doesn't matter why you join. You join purely because you have a innate need within you to conserve Mother Earth.
For sure. And I think, what you touched on is like when it comes to animal agriculture and the fact that it's like the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases and deforestation, me still years and years later, I cannot fathom that. Like, I think surely like why isn't it more well known? Like, why is this so, like, I just can't wrap my head around it. And so every week I read into the literature. I'm like, is this dogma? Is it propaganda? Like, but it's so real. And I actually wanted to read something. I actually had it up just before we started this conversation, because I do whatever I can to try to wrap my head around it. Let's see, it was this really big study on Springer when was this published? 2014. And it had a look at the greenhouse gas emissions from all different types of diets. So it was an Oxford cohort study, and it had the diets of 2,041 vegans, 15,751 vegetarians, 8,123 fish eaters, 29,589 meat eaters, and they're all aged between 20 and 79. And then they used like I think it was an ANOVA. It analyzes it analytically and puts it all in categories and different ways you can look at it. And now they already adjusted this with intervals and variances. And I'm not going to read through all the different amount that you admit, but it looks here, carbon dioxide kilograms per day is 7.19 for high meat eaters, or even for the low meat eaters, it was 4.70, but only 2.94 for vegans. And even vegetarians had 1 extra kilogram of carbon dioxide per day. And that's with a study with how many people? That was like 50,000 like people eating. And it still blows my mind. That information is not widespread. What the hell is going on, people?
Yeah, well, it's the same as the hemp, man. It's the story of hemp. You look at how many elites are you look at how many people are on the payroll of the world, the WWF and Greenpeace and whatever it is. Like, you look at the people that are on those payrolls, and that is the reason why this message has not been spread mainstream. You look at the reason why in Forks Over Knives that legislation passed in, I think it was Texas or I can't remember the exact state. It didn't get passed because there was an abundance of animal agriculturists on the board that were passing that legislation. That's why it didn't go through, because they would lose too much money. If this data was relevant, which it is, right? But if this relevant data was given mainstream, do you know how many people would be out of a job? Not only that, but Greenpeace wouldn't even have existence anymore. We wouldn't need Greenpeace. Like, we wouldn't need the WWF. We wouldn't need all of these organizations. Therefore, they would be out of a job. And it blows my mind, because there would be jobs in other fields. There would be created jobs, and that's what we have to work collectively towards. It really boils down to that. I mean, like, you look at 91% of the Amazon rainforest is cut down purely for animal agriculture, purely through animal agriculture. And there's no way that anyone can dispute that data. That is, fly 200 drones over rainforest and take your geo surveying, and you will see exactly what's happened. And you will have dedicated knowledge through looking at all the cows that are there. Or you look at all the soy crops that are there, purely grown for the feed for cattle. It's there, but again, it's swept under the rug because people don't want people to realize that it's the meat, it's that meal on their plate which is causing all this detriment. It comes back to our egos as well. We don't want to ruin our identification.
It's also like, to the merit of the everyday person, it's hard to comprehend. It's very, like, if we look at, like, right, studies range anywhere between the current rate of which deforestation has occurred in the Amazon between 50 and 91% is purely due to animal agriculture. And the variance is there because with animal agriculture, it's not just the chop down for the for the cattle fields. It's also for the transport, for the logs, for the logistics, for housing, for farming. There's lots of different sectors and industries that actually has to do with animal agriculture. But when we say it's, an acre a second, it's how do you can't fathom that. Like how an acre a second burnt down 365 days a year since what is it? Sorry? Is it 2 acres?
It's 2 acres now. One to two. Yeah, almost 2 now.
Yeah. How do you fathom that? Like you can't, that would get rid of metropolitan Sydney in what, a week? Like that's insane.
Yeah, less than that, man. But then you get these people that when these wildfires came through a lot of the South Coast, they get so upset that it tore down tree and bushland, and not to mention the wild native wildlife. Yet they don't give one damn about the fact that this is happening every single day, every single second in the most important parts of our ecological environments. Like it blows my mind. They're very selective, and they're doing it because they like to jump on the bandwagon, I think. But I don't throw shade on anyone that's not vegan, and I also don't throw shade on anyone that doesn't think that they're impacting the environment until I've given them the information. And then if they continue to be ignorant about it, then I will hate on them, and then I will call them ignorant and purely selfish, because that's what they are. Like I was once a meat eater because I didn't know any better at that given point in time. I don't blame anyone, because that's our indoctrinated way of thinking. That's what we've been prescribed to learn. That's our prescribed way of living. And until I've educated you, or until someone's educated you, until you've seen that evidence, and then if you still choose to lead your life with those actions, then I'll call you an asshole. And then you're living purely by your egotistical ways. But if you have not been educated, then I don't blame anyone. It's no fault of anyone's. It's purely through our upbringing and the poor choices of our government.
This is true, and I think it's a journey to find a place in your life to then not blame other people, because it's hard if you want to blame, like vegans. If you truly believe in the ideology, and a lot of vegans really do, and they really do, it's hard not to blame other people. Like how can't you see this? It's so like look, and it's hard to find that space of non-blame. But I think everyone gets there eventually, if even they just get there because they gave up. Like you're still doing it yourself. Like it's okay. Like you do you. If that could be enough for a lot of people.
Yeah, and the other thing is, just quickly before we move on, progress is progress. If you remove meat from your diet once a week to start off with, that is an amazing achievement. I don't think that there is any way, place, shape, or form of attack that needs to happen within the veganism community. I believe that there is activism work that needs to be done, but I also don't believe in saying that no progress or poor progress is terrible. I think progress is progress, no matter what it is. And if you take those steps and you are on a path to become a better individual, then that is amazing.
For sure. And then changing gear here. Now we're looking at you if we're on YouTube. Otherwise, everyone knows where to find you on Instagram. You're a good looking lad. You're a lawyer, and you're pretty switched on. You're an animal lover. You're conscious. You've clearly, through trial and error, or however you've done that, you've found, or seemingly have found, this balance between masculine and feminine. Where do you sit on like finding that balance?
Well, a lot of people chuck out the fact that you can't be masculine on a vegan diet. I put up a post.
Saw you decimate those people, and I was going to bring it up later because I was reading it in preparation. I was just watching you like drill, like, and not drill, but like educate in a stern way.
Yeah, well, I've come to a point where I will educate if you're reciprocating respect.
Yes.
And I'll educate very nicely. But if you're just throwing disrespect in my face, I will not be rude back, and I will not stoop to your level, but I'll just give you clear, hard facts very quickly. But yeah, in terms of masculinity, I think it's completely bullshit, the fact that masculinity thinks it needs to be destroyed through a vegan diet. If you really look at the history of masculinity, the history is looking after your home, those around you, and enabling a thriving space, right? Now, if you look at that, our only space and our only home is our earth, right? Now, yes, you can get all political and be like, no, it's our home, bro. It's not. It's our earth. Without the earth, you don't even have that freaking home, right? And then the other is your family. If you really want to have a thriving family, you will put them on a vegan diet. You will put them on a plant-based whole food diet. Sorry. You can be an unhealthy vegan, but it to me is those are the definitions of masculinity, but to a very unaware, uneducated 21st century younger, I think, society, the definition of masculinity is testosterone. And they put it into this nice little vacuum and go, well, like testosterone defines your masculinity. That's how you act. That's how you put on muscle. That's how you procreate. You look at any vegan, we're 13 to 20% higher in testosterone than any meat eater. They're cold hard facts. They're done on a lot of studies. A lot of clinical trials have done these studies. You look into even PubMed. You can go research testosterone studies, PubMed on a vegan diet, right? And they will come up with an abundance of data. But not to mention, like you will be able to sustain an erection a lot longer on a vegan diet purely because you don't have a mucus and plaque buildup in your arteries, which is stopping the blood flow to your penis. Like that is plain and simple. And not only, you also have far superior semen specimens, which will enable, I guess, the pure fertilization of your female counterpart. So for me, it's really just, if you really want to like shut down an argument that being vegan is less masculine, well, if you can be a man for longer and you can be on this earth and give life longer, doesn't that prove that that's more manly? And if you can have a working heart for longer, working muscles for longer, not have coronary heart disease, not having high cholesterol, diabetes, gangrene, like all these things, which most people get through a meat-based diet and a heavy meat-based diet, doesn't that dispel masculinity? But for me, looking at it, I mean, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask in terms of like, how do I find a balance? I believe in masculine and positive, masculine and female and feminine energy, of course, but I also don't buy into a lot of the bullshit thrown around with masculinity and femininity. When people say that a man can't be a certain role or can't be a certain thing because it goes against the equality that exists now in society. Sure, don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. And I believe in everything that you stand for. And I believe that there needs to be equality across board in every single thing. But there are some things which tailor to the masculine energy of a man that is seen within the environment. You look at plants. Those plants can't do some things without the masculine plant and the feminine plant. But those two things play a very pivotal role. And we're trying to destroy those roles which exist within an ecosystem that has been confounded upon millions and millions of years to allow both feminine and masculine energies to work symbiotically to create some kind of amazing result. But we're tearing away these structures to try and create this false idea that I don't want to go too deep into it because I know it'll cause a lot of disruption, but there are these things in place which kind of remove the fact that a man might be better suited to some kind of thing better than a woman. And that is just plain and simply the reality. Some things women are far more superior than men. And coming back to any female that might be listening to this being like, oh my God, you're a misogynistic, non-feminist kind of man. No, I'm not. I believe that women are the pinnacle of earth. I believe that women are the be all and end all. If there's no one bigger power than the sun, which gives us life, it's the woman. The woman can give me life. But my mother gave birth to me, right? Not only that, but my mother was able to make me grow from a little baby into a toddler through breast milk alone, the giver of life. Like, holy smokes, what the hell does a man do? Yeah, a man goes out and probably protects and goes out and brings in food and provides shelter, which has been our role in history. But holy smokes, a woman should be on a pedestal. And in ancient Egypt, literature proves, and literature dictates even through illustrations, women were always far superior than a man. They were always put in their carvings on a pedestal. They were always taller than the man. The man was always, in modern day terms, the simp, holding on to the woman. Like there is so much evidence to prove that women are the ultimate energy. Women are the ultimate power in this whole entire world. And I'm not trying to take anything away from that. I just think there needs to be a proper understanding of masculine and feminine.
Yeah, I think, but I also think like when you're saying that, I get like you have to be quite careful with the wording because you know, there's a lot of ways to piss a lot of people off. And by saying that getting a balance, it's not saying like one is better than the other. It's like when you are this woman who can somehow create life in her womb and her ovaries have a way of being all magical and she has this, you know, this woman is so powerful, but a man is different. It's not that, you know, a woman is much better at giving birth, but it's, you know, and there's certain things that a man does that might be different and might be needed in a way that it's not just that the woman can't do it, but it's like this dance of like, you do this, she does that. It's like just having a relationship. Like, oh, you cook, I'll clean. Like it's not saying you're better at, you should cook because you're the man or you should cook because you're a woman. Like, no, let's just dance. Like it's all good. And I think when you were prefacing, you're being too sensitive. Like it's okay. Like, and I think people need to, and I'm all for being sensitive and that's fine because whatever, but like the balance is the balance. And a man and a woman does different things and masculine and feminine needs to be in every person. In order to be sympathetic towards other people, especially. Like I can't, even if I had a job in a company and I don't want to piss other people off. And to do that, I might need to add on a little bit more feminine energy so I can make sure I feel that person out. And I'm not saying one's better than the other by saying that. So I think, you know, there's a bit of a disconnect in, no, I'm not trying to piss people off and you're not trying to say the wrong thing. It's like, no, like they're both good. Like there's no one better than the other.
Yeah, no, 100%. I find it a difficult topic to talk about only because I receive so much flack whenever I do. But yeah, like you said, there needs to be a dance between like feminine and masculine energy. I do believe that everyone obviously contains the yin and the yang, and that's inevitable. But I like to just spell it out as not necessarily, because it's hard for a man to be like, no, why would I want to take on the role of what a feminine energy provides? Like I just say that's encapsulated within masculinity anyway. I say that you should express these certain notions of feminine energy within your encapsulation of masculinity, because to be a man anyway, it is to ensure your longevity, your survival, and that only comes about as well with talking about emotions, being a carer, being a giver of compassion. And I don't think there's anything more manly in terms of, well, coming back to your main question, than being a vegan, because providing compassion towards all beings, I think, is the most manly thing that you can do. I mean, if someone can turn around, which a lot of people do, and say, nah, man, eating meat is what we're meant to do. Bro, for one, chances are you're getting your meat in a pre-packaged deli section of a nice, well air-conditioned, lit factory warehouse place called Woolworths or Coles, which has been trucked from a farm, which you've then paid someone to murder aggressively and in a very abhorrent way, which has been also raised in a feedlot in very abhorrent conditions, being pumped full of hormones, chemicals, and fed the wrong type of food for that cow. And you say that's being a man? Hell no. Go out there, and if you really want to be a man, go into a park or go into some kind of wildlife reserve, kill that animal if it is legal. I mean, if it's not, I mean, you're probably more of a man than anyway. But go do that. Come back to me and tell me how that felt, killing that animal, and tell me whether you thought that that was a thing that you should take part in. And until you've done that, I don't think you should eat meat.
I mean, I guess it's putting the ball in their court in a way that you know that they're going to react like, no, I'm not going to do that again. It's all right.
Oh, yeah,
like, unless you've got cognitive dissonance and you're a Joe Rogan who tries to put on a facade. But, you know, I said this before, and like, I hope at this stage, because Joe Rogan's got the mass following that he does, I hope that he's not, he doesn't stick to his ideology longer than he has to, only because he doesn't want to piss people off. You know what I mean? Like he's so far in to the meat eating culture, he could turn around and lose all of his money, all of his audience. Like there's more to play than his he's probably got like vices that keep him where he's at. And I think a lot of people have that when it comes to, I'm going to go kill. It's like, now you can't come back to me, because then you have to drop your ego. And then it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing. And now you're struggling in a different way.
And I think in terms of feminine energy, I think it comes down to not even like, well, for me anyway, not necessarily labeling it. Like, I would never walk around and think, oh, I'm feeling very emotional, I need to tap into my feminine energy. I struggle with that word, man.
That's
it's like
okay, man. Most people do. Synonym.
Yeah, and I find it like, it comes back to the whole being water, right? Allowing yourself to go within those troughs and ebbs and flows of life, like allowing yourself to actually be vulnerable to those feelings, to those emotions, and in turn then evaluating yourself and go, you know what, I did tap into those areas of my life, and doing evaluation. Maybe you are really aggressive every time you do something. You have to then step back and go, okay, well, why is that? Maybe I'm focusing too much on my facade of being masculine or whatever, and I need to allow my more feminine side feminine energy to come into play. And I think just be who you are at any given state. Allow those emotions to come through. Ride with them. If you want to cry. Do whatever you want to do, but then always come back and evaluate, and then you can reassess where you actually need to bring things into play. Because I think too many times people are constantly evaluating while they're doing, and that completely withdraws themselves from actually immersing themselves in any experience where they can grow, learn, and achieve.
For sure. And that's a process to figure out how to do that. And, you know, being present is difficult as well. It comes back to meditation. It's like, it's just hard. It's really hard. And I wanted to switch gears to health, since I know you're a huge, health is a big part of your life, and it's a lot of what you do with your Instagram and 21 days and BSC and all these different facets. So what does health or a healthy life look like to you?
Oh, that's a $1 million question, really, for anyone. Hey,
yeah.
So health. I think the word health has been destroyed in modern day society, and I think it's really toyed with, and there is a lot of ambiguity, if not stigma, attached to the word health. And I think we live in a reactionary society where we react to not being healthy, and we don't actually work on maintaining our health and increasing our well-being. So again, Western medicine only is reactionary. We're not proactive in removing the potential of harm in the future. We only react once the harm has come into fruition, right? So that is a lot of where I kind of took my understanding from, because I don't agree with that model. And I really think health should be encapsulated under a different term. For the purposes of living in our society, I continue to use the word health, but wellness is really where it comes down to play here. And I learned a really nice word the other day, and it's called eudaimonia. And eudaimonia means kind of being a living embodiment of your proper flourishing self, right? And I think that's a really good way to look at it. Yourself needs to be flourishing. Anyone can just be alive. That's our gift. That is the beauty of being a human, being any kind of being. We are alive, but then we have an innate need to, I think, go beyond that and find what we are capable of. So for me, health isn't one field. I mean, you get a lot of well, I don't really want to get started in that respect, but you get a lot of PTs throwing these things around, telling people what to do and thinking that they're experts in the field. And again, disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I don't have my degree in any kind of medical forum. I don't have a dietetics degree, even though I think I would be far more suited to giving someone diet advice than most of the dietitians out there. But what I can say is, yeah, I think it's a full encapsulating circle, if you will. And that circle never can be broken, right? Because imagine there's a circle filled with liquid gold in there, or whatever precious metal you want to put in there. And as soon as one of these little points on that circle breaks, whether that's mental health, whether that's gut health, whether that's physical health, whether that's a knee injury, whether that's cold sores, herpes, STIs, diseases. As soon as there are little kinks in that circle, you're just draining yourself of your gold, and you can't be feeling as good as you should be because you're leaking, right? And Western medicine often goes, all right, well, we'll put a Band-Aid over that little bit of leaking hole. I think that's really detrimental because there is a reason why that hole has occurred. And that reason is unbeknown to, I guess, everyone, because the doctor just says what it is, and you go, oh, okay, cool, I have diabetes. They don't go, you have diabetes because you've been feeding your liver too much sugar, which has increased, which has induced insulin sensitivity, all these kind of things, right? They don't go into the depths of why you're doing something. So for me, health, yeah, it comes back to more or less mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and collective consciousness. So there's 4 kind of rings. For me, I do most of my work from a place of feeling who I am as a full individual, but a lot of that started through mental health. I'm a big advocate of at least just expressing that you may have a mental health condition, or that you struggle sometimes, or that you feel sad, or whatever it is. Like that post I did the other day where I got a lot of comments saying, thank you so much. I've never been able to talk to someone about this. And I want to kind of be that voice for breaking those things down, because a lot of times we do things out of the wrong kind of place. We might eat a lot one night and then go for a 10-kilometer run the next day purely to work off whatever we've eaten. Now, I don't agree with that in any way, shape or form, but some people might go to the gym purely to get a 6-pack. And that's cool, but I don't think that's healthy. Maybe bodybuilding is your profession, in which case I don't have any leg to stand on to tell you to do something because that's your profession. I don't know that. But I don't think your goal should be to have a 6-pack. I think your goal should be have a stable core to ensure that you don't get back injuries when you're 50. I think that there should be a way of looking at things that is so much more different from just the stock standard, oh, that's healthy. Just like someone... I mean, and cut me off at any point here when you think there's something interesting, but a lot of times people will go, okay, I'm going to eat a salad, or I'm going to go on this quick detox, or I'm going to do this, right? And I think that's really unhealthy and really, really redundant. The word diet sets you up for failure anyway. You look at the background of the word diet, and it has been prescribed by a start and an end date. That in itself is very unhealthy to look at in terms of that. But when someone says, I'm going to eat a salad, okay, and they ate that salad, and this individual has been eating unhealthy for 24 years, right? And then they wake up after that salad and go, oh, what the hell? Like, I don't feel any different. Being vegan is shit. Like, why the hell would I do this? I've done it for like a day now. What? Why aren't I feeling anything? You don't reverse things off one diet. Just like when people eat one bad meal and they go, oh my God, I'm going to get fat. You don't get fat off one bad meal. You also don't get fit and healthy off one good meal. It's the same kind of notion here. And the other really important thing is, in this day and age, we are not excreting toxins from our body as quickly as we are inducing them, right? And toxins are the number one cause of disease. They're the number one reason of acidosis in the body and mucus buildup, which are the main underlying forms of disease. And the word disease is dis-ease, right? You're not in a position of feeling at ease with yourself. And yeah, so in like a nutshell, my form of health is a holistic understanding of health, not doing anything for one said reason, and it's doing something for the betterment of yourself, for the world, in a longevity perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you touched on, saying that don't let one thing let you decide with one salad isn't going to make you healthy. One burger isn't going to make you fat. I think the best way I've ever heard this, I guess, phrased is by Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote like The 4 Agreements, which is like one of his biggest books, and he wrote The Master of Love. Really good for anyone who wants to get in touch with, or I guess kind of destroy their ego down a little bit and try to be more in a loving manner. Like if you want internal happiness, so as opposed to relying on external things. Sorry?
What was his name again, just for the people in the back?
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don
really good.
Ruiz. I've never heard of him. But
Yeah, I'll message you his name. His son's also really good, Don Jose Ruiz, and they're these shamans in South America, and they do really amazing work. But the way he said it is that, like, we get poison every day, so we get poison and from words. So if I say, "Hey, Alex, you're a piece of crap, mate. Look at you with a half beard. Who do you think you are, mate? You think you're superior because you're vegan? You're a little piece of crap." Like, if I were to say that, those three poisons that I just
90% of my inbox.
those three things that I just said, like, that builds up. And imagine, like, as you get older, and this is why people say old people can't change. It's because as you get older, these things build up. So you're what, 20, 28?
26.
26. So you've had 26 years. So since you were born, maybe when you were 3 years old, you tried to get a toy. Your mom didn't want you. She slapped you. Boom, that's one poison. And then you tried to get something else, and then maybe you couldn't afford it. Bang, another slap. And you've got these stories, these poisons that have come into you in this one category. And then now to balance that, it's not like, yes, it's accepting that. But now imagine trying to fill this other box, like, and then me saying, "Oh no, you can get that. You're amazing. You're really good." It's like, imagine how many things you have to do or say or feel or experience to tackle 26 years of the opposite. Because we don't get taught how to disassociate or get a better balance. It's like bacteria in your body. It's like, you just want the bad are always going to be in there. The bad are good in certain ways because sometimes they feed the other bacteria. You just want the good to outweigh the bad. Really simple. Same thing with our mentality. Same thing with your health. One salad isn't going to fix anything. If you've had 10 Macca's runs every week for the past 10 years, like, bro, you got catching up to do. But it's like, as you add on, it's like, that's a good mentality to have. It's like, oh, but it gives you also like a date range. Like, oh, if I did 10 years of bad eating, okay, I shouldn't expect anything until I've had 10 years of good eating. Even though luckily our body's amazing and it happens before then, it's like your expectations should match where it's at.
Oh, for sure. And just before I forget, I'm just writing things down quickly. What I like to say to people, so coming back to what you just said, I think you spelt it out in a really like innocent, kind of pure way, which is really, really beautiful. But it comes down to, people always say, oh, what's this, what's that? And it's the quick fix society that we live in. It's the quick, we want results now, and that's never going to happen. It's also why we see so many steroid abusers in the gym society, which is awful. But you look at things like that and people go, oh, well, how do I do this? How do I get healthy? Do I do this? How long do I have to do this for? And I go, okay, the fact that you're even saying this means you don't really want to get healthy. You just want to get there. You want the end result. But at the end of the day, it's not easy and it's a lifestyle. And the one thing which I will always maintain is calling people out. And I call people out purely because I don't like necessarily the phrase, oh, I couldn't do that. I can't do that. And I honestly don't really mind what you're going through if you vent that, okay? If you haven't expressed what you're going through and why that might be stalling your ability to get somewhere, then how does anyone know? But if there are things in your way, then that is completely fine. I mean, you might be going through something terrible. You might have cancer. You might have AIDS. You might have leukemia. You might have an abusive relationship. You might have really bad depression, schizophrenia. Those are obstacles which you have to overcome. I'm not saying that you have these things in your life. I'm not calling you out for those. I'm saying that if you say that you don't have time for something, say like a $20 salad at a restaurant, but then you'll go out and buy drugs, you'll go on a really big bender or whatever it may be, or you don't have time for those nice ingredients, or you don't have time to go vegan because you wanted to go to someone's party at an all-you-can-eat beef restaurant and you didn't want to miss out on that experience, then I will call you out and say you have your priorities completely whack. You need to realign what your priorities are. And I want to just quickly jump back. If you do have conditions that are stopping you from being able to tackle these issues head on, please voice those obstacles. Otherwise, no one will know and they will be calling you out on your bullshit, and that'll make your condition even worse and that'll compound things. So whatever you have going on in your own space, please voice that. I'm not calling you out. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong. I really want to enforce that because I've been in positions where I've been unable to do things and unbeknown to anyone else. I just want to say, do your best to get to where you need to be. But it comes down to priority. The amount of times that I've heard people saying, oh, I don't have enough money for that. I can't do that. I can't do this. Well, yes, you can. It comes down to your priority. What about you spending, I don't know, XYZ on that new computer game or that new whatever it is? It's clearly a priority. And it comes down to you living and breathing a lifestyle for you to get where you want to be. You can't have your cake and eat it too in this world. Like you genuinely can't, unless you're vegan, of course. But it's as simple as that. And it comes down to you learning that it is a lifestyle. It is a journey. It is going to transcend you. It is going to transform you. You will go through a metamorphosis, but that is necessary to come out the other end of where you want to be. And you look at the study of alcoholics. A lot of people don't want to give up alcohol because they fear it's going to change who they are. They know they should give up alcohol, yet they choose not to because they're scared of what might happen. They're scared that they might not be funny anymore. They're scared that they might not meet someone of importance or the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever it is. They're scared that it's going to completely change their group of friends. Well, if they don't like you because you quit alcohol, they're not your friends. But it's this whole idea that you have to become at one with a lifestyle change.
It's really hard, especially for those people who are scared because, you know, if you're in a group of 5 people and 4 of them are freaking alcoholics, you're going to have a hard time because you're like, man, like these people, like, is everything I know. And then you're jumping out. And sometimes it's like that with veganism. Like, think of how small, and thank God it's growing, because if it wasn't, how many people wouldn't be going vegan? Because it's like most people go vegan because they know a vegan. I think inherently when you watch Game Changers, or you can join all these Facebook groups, but if they weren't there, the obstacle would be so much higher. And I think community, one, can really overcome that. Because when you have, okay, I don't know how to go vegan. I know this guy on Instagram, Alex, he talks all about it. Maybe I can DM him, ask him, and then you feel less alone. And I think that is definitely a great thing that technology has provided us in social media, in a way that we can become what we want to become with a lesser obstacle if we're willing to accept it and willing to change. And not everyone's going to be willing to change, but take what you can get.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it definitely is that. Like, community is very, very important. I think that it's like it's crucial in this day and age. Like, imagine if you were a tradie, or your mates smoked and ate meat pies at lunch, the traditional kind of generic tradie lunch that people stereotype. And imagine if you wanted to go vegan, it would be very, very difficult. So if you had a support network, it would be a lot easier. Support networks are great, but I always say don't rely on them, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for your health and your happiness. Sure. Just like, and be aware of your decisions and your movements, and understand why you might be doing something. Like, even right now, like, I moved upstairs to chat on this, right? My girlfriend's right there, and I can already feel myself speaking differently because there's someone else listening, which is a really weird thing, but it happens. And everyone speaks differently when they know someone is listening. And so just bringing it back to that really simple example of me feeling different chatting, see how things feel different. See what might be holding you back. See what might be in the way of you flourishing as a human being. And if that's being surrounded by toxic friends who may not really be your friends at the end of the day, they might just be there because you're all alcoholics and you all support each other's lifestyle. That may be it. I don't know. But there are steps that you need to do, and you need to change your lifestyle. And something out there to anyone listening that may think they might lose their friends because of this lifestyle, you won't, because you, on a vibration and frequency level, will invite new individuals into your life that will be far more enriching and beneficial, and probably a better of a friend. I'm not saying get rid of your old friends, but I'm saying if you're very worried and concerned, they don't need to be concerned, because you will invite people into your life purely by making this shift and being a more conscious individual.
For sure. I think there's definitely no need to be fearful, even if it's, and you might not find a new friend straight away, but again, utilize those social medias, and your friends shouldn't ditch you because you're vegan. Come on. Like, if they do, like, was it really bad? Like, was it for the better? Like, that's just the kind of mentality you have to approach.
For sure.
You have a pretty good bod for anyone who's browsing your Instagram. How the hell do you get a bod like that?
Well, first of all, it comes into the word longevity that I played on before. you can't have a sustainable, like a lot of these Instagrammers that sell you this cookie cutter approach to living is a waste of money and a waste of
free ebook.
yeah, and chances are they're probably pumping themselves full of some kind of artificial supplement, which is banned in a lot of sports. I don't want to throw shade on anyone, but it is the sad reality of the fitness world on Instagram. So I want to first and foremost say, don't buy into these kind of notions that are flying around everywhere. Those bodies are not attainable. They're also not what they look like 24/7. They're not even what they look like 365 days. It is a perfect moment in their life that they've taken that photo. That is first and foremost what I want to get out there. The second thing is understanding that we are a human and not a robot, and we need to treat ourselves accordingly. I think you also need to, so what I'll expand on that. So we are just a set of vibrations, right? That is all we are. We are electrical currents, frequencies, right? That is science. That's purely what we are. We're just in a sack of skin, but we are vibrations who have organs, who have atoms, who have all this kind of stuff. And we need to work with those frequencies and allow ourselves to maneuver through this world, this dimension, this 3D reality that we live in, the best that we can for the longest amount of time. And yeah, so fitness plays into that on a multitude of levels. I break it down into, I guess, physical performance, nutrition, sleep, water, and mental health. Okay, so they're like my 5 pillars really of success in terms of an aesthetic looking body or a physically healthy looking body. Like I said, I don't train necessarily for the physical aesthetics, but so I'll touch on each one. So physicality, learn what kind of training suits your body. Whether that, and learn why you're training, okay? Don't go, I'm going to go into the gym and do ab crunches because I want to get abs. First of all, they're not abs. It's a core. It's your set of core. It's not a singular ab. You're not going in there to go like,
I want to work my bottom left ab.
Yeah, like, and that's not the way it should be. And it's a very unhealthy idea that people go into the gym thinking they have to just work this one muscle and that's going to get them a result. First and foremost, that's not it. Train your body in a whole, and be a rounded body which is healthy, and strive to do this. This is my one thing that I like to say. Strive to be able to like get up and just like run 10Ks, and strive to get up and be able to squat your body weight. Like they're your foundations really, and anything that goes beyond that is kind of redundant and unnecessary. Like you don't need to go into the gym and do thousands of sets of bicep curls. That's not going to get you the biceps. Doing pull-ups are going to get you those biceps. Going and doing like, I don't know, those little like that, I don't know what you call it.
Is it for your legs? What are you doing? The leg?
Yeah, the curl machine, like the accessory work for your glutes. Don't go in there and do that. Again, squat or do a deadlift or do a hip thrust, but with heavy weight. Be a rounded physique. Don't go in there and do 50,000 ab crunches. Go in there and hold a plank. Most people can't hold a plank for more than a minute and a half. And it's well, it's boring you already. but yeah, no. So for me, it's working your body as a whole, and understanding that our body has a beautiful capacity to actually like take us through this world. So appreciating your body and working with your body.
Yep.
Second thing, nutrition.
Let's pause for a second. I accidentally yawned. Do not blame me. We just adopted a cat from the Lost Dogs home, and he keeps me up all night. Like I'll sleep and he bites my foot and he'll just jump on me and I'm not sleeping for like a week or 2. So give me some freaking slack, bro. It is a cat. I don't know where he's at.
You've also been doing this all day, so I can imagine you're tired.
No, you're spitting gems. I'm into it. Just let me be tired for a bit. I'm also trying to give up coffee, so I'm hitting multiples.
Oh yeah, wow, that's a struggle. I've been there too. The second thing then is I'll go into nutrition. So obviously, I wouldn't say be anything but a vegan. I think anything bar vegan's counterproductive in terms of your health. A lot of people say, oh, they don't want to invest the time into their nutritional health now, but I can guarantee you down the track, you're going to be investing your time into healthcare. And that's the two kind of shifts. But in terms of nutrition, the amount of times that I've seen girls and guys and whatever come to me saying, oh, my friend said that I should only eat 1,100 calories. My friend said that I should only eat 1,500 calories and go for 2 runs and not focus on this. You're going to have metabolic damage, period. All right. Now, again, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a qualified dietitian. I am a qualified PT technically. I don't do it, but it's really, really sad to see, because a lot of these people are not eating to nourish their body. My one thing that I say to people is don't count calories, count nutrients. Okay. I'm sick of people counting calories, because a calorie is not a calorie. You can debate me until the cows come home. A calorie on science may work, and it does work scientifically on a performance-based and weight loss-based ideal, but for a set specific time. All right. We're not a robot. If you're eating the same amount of food, you're not expelling the same amount every single day. You also have hormones coming into play. You also have irregular sleep patterns. You're also consuming different amounts of liquids, and you might be consuming alcohol. So if you're eating the same amount of food every single day, you're going to be getting some kind of metabolic damage, which is why when people do these things, they say reverse diet, because that's initially what you have to do. You have to wean your body and get change back into effect. But also, it doesn't work in terms of health. Don't view your body as a calorie machine. It's a health machine, okay? You need to be feeding this body full of abundant, living, high vibrational foods, which affects your DNA on a cellular level, which will allow you to perform far more superior than anyone that's eating a chemical-infused, macro-counted friendly, freaking stupid cookie-cutter diet, which isn't going to get them anywhere but a metabolic disease down the track, because they're not metabolic damage down the track, because they're following this dumb low-calorie diet. So for me, my one form of advice is ditch the calories. Don't worry about counting your calories, count your nutrients. Also, a calorie isn't a calorie. If you're going to eat 4,000 calories worth of Big Macs as opposed to 4,000 calories worth of kale, I can guarantee you in 1 week's time, even in 1 hour's time, your body is going to look different. So you can't turn around and tell me that a calorie does the same as a calorie. All right. One's going to hold more water. One's going to actually not be absorbed into your body. It's going to be stored as fat. The other is going to be utilized. The minerals, the nutrient count is going to be forcefully put into your body and allow your organs to work more harmoniously, as opposed to the other, which is full of dead flesh, which is zero vibrational food, full of chemicals, preservatives, E numbers, which don't even get recognized by the body. So that's my little spiel on that. I hate anyone that says a calorie is more important than a nutrient value of a food.
Totally agree with you. And I was having a conversation with our mutual friend Dara Tiger Lily last week for the episode, which should be out when this comes out. And she was like, no, don't count calories. She's full F no, no way would you do that. And it comes back to your pillar, mental health. You're then it's a bit gamifying. And I think it's useful in a certain way. If you're, a week or a month or 3 months into your journey, your fitness journey, hey, I can't seem to maintain my weight. I fluctuate too much. I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm okay, let's count calories for a week, maybe 2, see where you're at. Is it the adding tomato sauce to the meals? Is that, too much? I think temporarily it is a good way to see. And obviously we want to be eating 30 to 40. We want abundance of plants. We don't, if you eat too much calorie, you're going to have vitamin K popping out your butthole. So you don't want too much of that either. So I think it's temporarily a great way to see how many plants am I eating a week. Do I hit my, plus 50 grams of fiber a day? Am I hitting good iron levels and my micronutrients are good? But I think permanently, exactly what you touched on, it's going to be such a drag. And this is a beautiful thing. Fitness is amazing. You obviously go to the gym, you love it. It's a good time. You want to feel good. You when you're counting calories, it's a way that you're I kind of feel like it's a chore. And
well, it is 100%. And it also is what you just touched on is great. I do think it is useful if that is your sport as well. I guess if you need to do a bodybuilding show or whatever, I understand it for that kind of level. If you're an elite athlete and you're chucking in McDonald's and stuff just because it fits your macros, I think you're stupid. I think you should be, if you are following it, don't adopt it if it fits your macros. Do if it fits your nutrients and excel far superior by eating all these nutrient-dense foods. But I also understand it to even show people how little they're eating as well. sometimes it's good to be like, you're eating less than what a toddler needs to survive. A toddler needs 1,400 calories a day just to survive. We're a freaking grown adult going to the gym, using our brain at a far higher capacity, and you're telling me that you're eating less than a toddler. Like, not only are you setting yourself up for a mental illness, but you're actually ruining and depriving your brain full of vital I shouldn't say calories, vital energy that is coming from carbohydrates. Again, don't fear carbohydrates. Again, touching on nutrition quickly before I jump into the other pillars, my biggest no's are protein is a myth. Okay.
All right, go.
I will stand by that. Protein is a myth. It is not a necessary nutrient for the body. Okay. Amino acids, the building blocks for protein, right, are, if you are going to look at anything, are what you should be looking at. Okay. The plants are inevitably building the muscles of those animals which you were then eating. So already, if you're a meat eater, you're getting secondhand protein, right? We all can accept that. But protein itself is not a necessary macronutrient. You don't need to be hitting it. I went fruitarian, and I tell this to a lot of people, for months on end, right? And I did not lose one iota of muscle, one iota of strength, one iota of physical endurance performance. In fact, all of those increased tenfold. Now, I say
How
this
long were
because
you fruitarian for?
I think it was something like 4-ish months, but then it kind of almost went to 6 months. I remember I had a few days break. But I can go days with fruit, man. Like, even the past 3 days, it was just a fruit diet until last night, where I just smashed some food with my girlfriend watching a movie because we vegged out. But yeah, I am a very, very massive advocate of fruit-based diets. Protein is the myth. I'll get back onto that, because amino acids are what are the building compounds within protein, right? So why would we be trying to chuck protein into our body? Why wouldn't we want to be chucking the building blocks of protein to enable our protein to actually build itself, which is our muscles, right? So why, after a gym workout, are we told to smash a protein shake, not half a watermelon, which contains the most abundant amount of amino acids like leucine, lysine, which are prevalent in muscle building after the gym? We're not told that. Also, not only that, it is so readily accepted in our body because it is a high fructose fruit, which is so readily absorbed into our gut. Okay. So I go back and say that if our bodies are pure vibration and pure frequency, right, why wouldn't we be feeding our bodies electrical foods? When we plug a socket, right, plug something into a socket, and it's a shitty, rusty socket, right? We're not getting a good electrical current, and something might charge slowly. But if we chuck it into a super high, fast socket, it's going to be charging so quickly. The same goes for your muscles. Your brain sends signals to your muscles, and those muscles go, oh my God, there's a massive load right now. We need to push this. And the quicker that your brain can send a signal, which is an electronic signal to your muscles, the stronger you are. So how do you get stronger? You eat high vibrational foods, which is fruit and vegetables. The most high is fruit. Protein is far less vibrational than your fruits and vegetables. So when you're looking at it, you've got to look at it from the perspective of, I need to eat my fruit for my muscle building progress. Now, I know this goes so against the grain in anything, in any kind of way, shape or form. But when you start looking deeper and deeper into evidence and research and people that actually study biology, you will understand the benefits of not being so fixed on this protein. Don't even get me started on carbohydrates. We run off carbohydrates. Our body is carbohydrates. So they're my nutrition tips.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go no comment for now, because this is.
But don't get me wrong. I still will eat my tofu on a daily basis purely because I like it. I will still have my protein shakes purely because I like it. But I don't think
there's a need for protein shakes. Like, I think I wouldn't go so far as to say it's not necessary, because I think it is. I would probably argue that you don't need to worry about it. Like, your body's pretty efficient at, and everything has protein. You eat a bloody lettuce and it has protein. You don't need to count it. I think it's important.
We're eating too much.
Yeah, we're overeating for sure. And I think when when we have an abundance of plants, and you have an apple and a banana, and you got tempeh fermented, and you've got all these things, you're having enough protein, regardless of whether tempeh was a pretty dense protein source or not. I think people are like been sold this bill of goods that say, if you don't have protein, you'll die. But it should be, if you have a high saturated fat, high HDL level, you'll probably die. Like it's and I think it goes back to a little bit of misconstrued evidence from studies. When something comes out and the media picks it up, and then like it goes, just blows up. And I think that's what happened with protein. People found that, like, there's not one, I couldn't find, when I was diving deep into it, one study that suggested that, eating 5 or 4 meals a day was better than eating 2 or 1. In fact, it was the opposite. But it's like, it's misconstrued evidence that I think is ingrained.
Yeah, but back quickly just to the protein, just as a disclaimer before people start like attacking this. Protein will build you muscles. It will, okay? If you're on a higher protein diet, you will build muscles, but those muscles will leave your body so quickly, it's not even funny when you stop training, all right? But if you build your muscles purely on a lower protein diet, full of high vibrational foods, those muscles are actually the muscles you want to keep on your body, and they will be far stronger muscles, and they'll be far superior. So if your goal is to put on as much mass as you can, sure, eat your protein. I'm purely looking at it from a health standpoint again, to say that the amount of protein that we're consuming in today's society is abhorrent. Like it's far too much, and it has been glorified. It's almost like smoking was back in the day. It's like a sexy to like have all this protein, and it is. It's kind of like going out and having these burgers and having these donuts. And don't get me wrong, like I do that. I like to indulge, but people that do it every day, it's kind of like that Johnny Cash version of someone who drinks a lot, right? It was sexy that he drank a lot of whiskey because he was a rusky kind of singer, and he lived this lifestyle full of women and a lavish life. And people went, oh, I want to be drinking a lot too, because it's sexualized. It's sexy. Smoking is still sexy in today's society, unfortunately. And same goes for like the glorification of these like dirty burgers and dirty feeds. Like it is a sexy ideal to go out and say, do you want to go out for dinner to a place where we can just demolish our food, as opposed to going, do you want to make a nice fruit salad or have a nice tempeh wrap or do this kind of really productive health promoting behavior, because it's the sexy way of living. And that's unfortunately the way of our life. It is always focused around aesthetics, and yeah, unfortunately, nutrition has suffered a lot over the past, and it still suffers. So yeah, that's my take on nutrition. I want to quickly touch on like the mental health, sleep, and water, if I do have time.
Yeah. I wanted to actually touch on one thing about protein that I find really fascinating. At the moment, I'm reading Lifespan by David Sinclair, who's like a doctor in the field of aging. So he actually has, I just read something really fascinating. He's a big proponent of plant-based diets, at least 90% of your diet to have longevity in your life. And I think what's really interesting about like amino acids, when we're talking about them being the building blocks, is like amino acids in animals are more readily absorbed in the body. And same with like hemine. Hemine is just absorbed, less regulated. Like, that because I know you do, because I listened to one of your episodes. But when you look at the amino acids from plants, they actually are a bit harder to absorb in your body, which is amazing. This is really good. It activates like sirtuin genes, which actually reverse the aging process of a lot of your organs. So when it comes to protein, it's not just like don't focus on it, but it's really beneficial to get them from plant sources because they act very differently in your body. But yes, we can move on to the water. And
no, I think that's awesome. And I think that is my number one criticism when I see all these personal trainers out in today's society going, oh my God, like I'm getting up this morning, like absolutely pushing myself, like dying, hustling for that grind. I hate the word hustle, but why are you selling this very destructive, unhealthy lifestyle to people and then saying that they have to undereat and eat the wrong quality of foods? And then they wonder why they don't have the ability to keep training like they did in their 20s, in their 30s, in whatever. you should be training like you're training now when you're 60 years old. I don't care who you are. You all have the capacity to be able to do that. And that is what is missing in our society. And that is what is missing with these personal trainers who are so underqualified to actually be helping people. Takeaway messages: don't count calories, count nutrients. And to touch on that thing again, I have read a few writings from that doctor. I can't remember his name right now.
David Sinclair?
Yeah. And it is interesting, and it goes back to the whole idea that you can't look at the surface level of anything really, and especially with nutrition, you've really got to understand why you're eating something. Like, even if you're feeling low in mood, don't go reach for some low-fat yogurt to then chuck on like shit. Go look for a banana, right? Go look for an avocado, two proven fruits that remove anxiety from the body immediately. Like, they've had ECG readings on people. Anyway, so my question is, my point is just question why you're doing something. And then if it doesn't feel right, chances are it's not right. So that's my takeaway. Then moving on, just going into mental health again, eat for your mental health. I don't eat for my physical performance. I eat for my internal health and my mental health. Too much focus in this day and age is on physical external health. What the hell is physical external health? It's got nothing to do with anything, right? Yes, like a pimple. A pimple is an external health, but that's only influenced by what's going on inside. Your skin, the discoloration, people with dermatitis, eczema, or thin skin or red skin, that's purely due to our internal health as well. And at the same time, our mental health is connected directly to our brain. We have more nerve endings connecting our brain to our gut than we do anything else, right? And like the saying goes, as above, so below. You look at the genetic makeup of the brain, and then you look at the genetic makeup of the intestines. There's some really cool studies developing right now that is actually looking into whether our gut is our primary brain. So that is a very like iffy subject to even talk about, because it's not conclusive evidence, but it's an interesting way of thinking, because that is, for me, how I treat anything that I do. So I know when I've been eating processed foods, I will get foggy. I'll also notice that I'll get a breakout in my skin. I'll have bags under my eyes. My eyes will be more bloodshot. I'll have a little bit of yellow coloration around my irises. And there will be many physical reasons or physical things that I can notice in my body when my nutrition isn't on point, right? So for me, I train for my mental health. I work out in the gym. I go on long runs. 2021, watch this space, vegan Ironman. That's what I'm training for.
Are you actually training for Ironman?
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was training for 2 years ago, but I fell into a really bad knee injury in a marathon, so I unfortunately had to take time off. For me, it's all about my mental health, and if I didn't have the capacity to move my physical body, and that's the other thing, I'm a vessel. Like, this physical body is just a vessel. So if someone thinks it's pretty, or someone likes it or is attracted to it, you're attracted to my vessel. That's all it is. Like, you're not attracted to me. You're attracted to what I look like. You're attracted to what my body has been able to achieve or has been able to look like. You don't know nothing about me, about my brain workings, my actual spirit or my soul. And so for me, my physical vessel is cool. It's there. But I'm training for my internals, okay? So my actual self I train for, and that is everything that you cannot see. That is for those dark days that no one knows about. That is for those times where I need to go do something. So I train for my mental health, and I really believe that it's a really, really useful tool. Even though a lot of people try and discredit physical exercise having an effect on people with depression, they try and discredit it time and time again, saying the only proven proof is an SSRI antidepressant, for example. And so for me, it's intertwined. It's not just physical expression. It's also, like you said, mindfulness. It's also meditation. It's also this ties in with the next two, sleep and water. Okay. My number one recommended breakfast, here you go, ladies and gentlemen, you're writing it down, ready for your shopping list, is 4 glasses of filtered water.
Oh, so yummy.
That's it. That's all you need. Okay. That'll get every process in the body firing. Okay. Ready for your day.
Are you squeezing a bit of water in there, lemon in there, or just water?
Yeah, occasionally. My girlfriend has lemon water every day, and that really helps her. But yeah, I will occasionally have lemon if it's there, but otherwise just 4 glasses of water. And I usually probably just have a liter. But it gets everything working. We're electrical beings that require water for so many processes, even something as simple as like our hemoglobin levels transporting oxygen to our muscles. Like we need this stuff in our body. That is my number one breakfast. And then my second thing would be fruit. Most of the time would be the second thing to eat. But yeah, water is inevitably the most important thing that is so overlooked in our society. Like how many personal trainers go drink your water? None. They're saying what you can eat and what you can't eat and what you can get away with. So yeah, it comes down to water. And the other thing is sleep. Have good sleep. Okay. If you don't feel like going to the gym and you feel like napping in the afternoon, and I'm talking really can't go to the gym, not, I can't be bothered to go to the gym, I'm feeling a little bit lazy, like whatever. Get your ass to the gym if you're feeling like that. But if you really can't because you're chronically tired, go and have that nap. Sleep is far more beneficial to you, to your body, to your physiological body, than a lot of things that we give credit for. So I'm a big advocate of sleep, but also sleep is so crucial for your mental health. Your dopamine levels, your serotonin levels are extremely affected by low sleep cycles, especially when you're not getting into your REM sleep cycles, but also water. If you're dehydrated, you're going to be waking up a lot more and being restless in the night. So again, sleep. And these all tie in with each other. They're not separate pillars. I've just spoken about them separately, but without one will significantly fail. So if you're training out of a place of, oh my God, come on guys, let's get it, 8 free burgers yesterday, that's not going to be good for your mental health. Therefore, that's not going to be good for your physical health. So you've always got to ask, is this good for my these, and this? And if it's not, well then don't do it. Do it, realign yourself, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Then get back into it. If I'm in the gym and I ever think like, don't get me wrong as well. People always go, you're so like amazing at this. How do you do this? Hell no. Like I'll go through times where I'm chronically tired. Like I'll say, I can't be bothered to be here. Why am I even doing this? Like, what am I doing? I don't want to drink my water today. I want to just eat like 6 loaves of bread with sprinkles on it. Like, I don't care what it is.
Fairy bread?
Yeah, man. With Nuttalex, of course. But I'll go through times where I'll be like, I feel a little bit not good at the moment. Like, and I'll maybe look at it from a physical perspective. I'll look in the mirror and go, what the hell? Like that doesn't look as good. That doesn't. And then I'm like, okay, that's not why I do these things. So don't get me wrong. I definitely fall back into like existing habits or behaviors that I learned when I was far younger. It's not just like these things eradicate. It's like meditation. The number one thing that I learned from even just reading literature about meditation is you're not trying to have no thoughts and silence everything and just be a clear, empty box where you can just bounce around. It's actually just allowing the thoughts but not giving them life. So it's the same goes by everyday situations in life. It's yes, you could do that, and yes, you maybe did do that, but just bring yourself back. It's okay if you're a vegan and you went out and had a piece of steak because you really felt like it. And if you acknowledge that, come back on, jump back on, be a vegan again. Again, it's all about that progress. So to achieve healthy longevity and I guess a survival of yourself, your true sense of, I guess, eudaimonia. I'll come back to that word just because I think it's so beautiful. To find that sense of eudaimonia, you need to acknowledge that, again, this is a priority. You need to be focusing on all of these things, but it needs to be a lifestyle. It needs to be a priority. You need to be conscious about all of these actions. And it's time. It's the Great Awakening. It's now your time to wake up and actually be a conscious being filled with a new sense of purpose, a new sense of drive, a new sense of finding the beauty in everything that you're doing and come back to purpose. You need to have purpose behind every single action. Don't just let your life be a reaction to everything. Let your life be purposefully driven.
Holy crap. Wow. That was a whole heap of amazing. You know, I usually finish like on the tail end of episode, ask guests if they've got any wisdom to leave us with, but I feel like yours just happened, you know, in such an ebb and flow. But I will still ask you if you want to leave us with anything, and we'll also talk about where we can find you after that. But would you like to leave us with any other things where you feel like you're knowledged out? Because that was a bloody I don't know, snowball rolling down a hill at such a fast pace. I was letting you be you.
Yeah, I was in flow, man. So I guess if I could leave anyone with anything, it's the fact that I'm no greater than you, okay? I have no more importance, in my opinion, than a cow in a paddock, okay? So what I'm saying to you is merely my opinion, and I want you to just take it on board. I want you to take everyone's advice, opinion, disagreement, dissent on board, because without engaging in different opinions, you don't grow and you stunt your growth. Growth can only happen when you challenge different ideas. And I learn just as much from anyone else as someone may learn from me. So what I really want you to, this would be my final sign off, I guess. I guess what I'd want people to take away from this is just be purely you. I don't want you to be you trying to impress your boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't want you to be you trying to lose weight or gain muscle, whatever it may be. I don't want you to be you trying to impress your boss at work. I want you to be the rawest form of you. That might be frightening. I 100% agree. I mean, I've taken, since I was about 17 now, this journey up until 9 years of dedicating my life to purely being the rawest version of me. And I've had to sacrifice things, and I've also gained a lot as well. So I think a lot of the times when people talk about these kind of notions, it's always so like, oh my God, you have to give up all this stuff and you need to change your life and give the priorities and you need to change your lifestyle. And it sounds so overwhelming and hard, but I find a lot of the times we don't talk about the things you gain. So not only are you gaining a lot, but you're gaining control of your life again. Okay, you're gaining control of what has been taken from you so readily. You're also gaining proper control over your health, and you're now in the driver's seat. You're taking responsibility for your actions, and that is the number one thing that I could even say to anyone is just take responsibility for your actions, have purpose in life, and just try to be the best version of you and go vegan.
Yes. Look, I'm really, I guess I'm not disappointed, but I'm so sad that we don't have like all day to literally record like a Joe Rogan duration episode, because I think I only got through 10% of what I had written down to talk about. So I will definitely see you on another episode, part 2, for sure to come. And look, I know you're doing amazing things with Good Things, and you've got your 21 Days podcast. Can you talk about where we can find you? I'll leave everything in the show notes as well for anyone who does want to connect with Alex. But where is best to find you?
Yeah, so I guess to find me, Instagram, so Alexander __ Glover.
Is there 3 underscores?
No, just 2. I started.
2
underscores. Unfortunately, all the other ones were taken. Yeah, I run my podcast, 21 Days to Vegan. They're short little digestible snippets where I just chat. There's ones where I'm now getting guests on board just because I want to, again, similar to what you're doing, I just want to be able to showcase some amazing individuals out there. I'll have to get you on one day, so it's more of an interview on your behalf, which would be awesome. But yeah, you can search that on Spotify and iTunes, and I think probably just on a Google search. So yeah, 21 Days to Vegan, Instagram as well. They're the basic ways that you can connect with me. If you leave a DM, I'll try and get to it. I usually only check the requests once a week, only because I really don't get that much time, and I want to try and dedicate my life to what I'm trying to do, which is everything that you probably just took away from this this podcast. But yeah, and I encourage everyone to reach out. Reaching out goes far further than you think. Even if you just tell me, wow, listening to that made me think about going vegan. You don't know how that makes my day. Like, literally makes my day. I don't want to change the world. I want to change the people around me, which will inevitably change the world. I don't think too big picture. I think small scale, because small scale makes change. So yeah, reach out, and yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you once again for your time, and thank you for bearing through all the technical difficulties. And I know we switched devices like 3 or 4 times. It was amazing, but we got there. And I've noticed that through the course of the episode, we're both finished basically a bottle of water, which just drives the point home of how important the water is.
And home that we live and breathe what we're actually saying. We're not some rogue robot behind their Instagram friggin' keyboard telling people to live this lifestyle that they don't lead.
That's it. Practice what you preach, as they say. Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for anyone who does want to check him out, again, I will link everything in the show notes, so we have that all there. And look, I'll have to see you next time we record this part 2.
Oh, for sure, man. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for having me on today. And thanks. I'm so grateful that you even consider me worthy of being on a podcast. So thank you.
Don't be too modest, mate. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Hi there. Welcome to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening the whole way through. Thank you once again, Alex, for jumping on and having this conversation. It was an absolute ball of a time. It's always nice to have passionate people in the vegans and sustainability community educating and informing the masses on what's happening in the world and how we can better improve ourselves and our planet. Did you learn anything from our chat? Let us know on Instagram, contact us. All the links to contact either Alex or myself are in the show notes. Definitely check out his podcast, 21 Days to Vegan. It is a really amazing haven for bite-sized information pieces on living and thriving on a plant-based diet. If you're on YouTube, hi, how you going? Nice to see you there. Consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you're listening, a review would be amazing, or better yet, share this episode with a friend, family member, or colleague if you think they could get some value out of it too. That is all from me today. Stay happy, eat plants, peace.